Welcome to the Nomad Futurist Podcast, where ideas shape the future and visionaries redefine what's possible. Join us as we dive deep into the evolution of technology, society, and human potential, spotlighting the voices driving change and reimagining our world. Connect with us and join us at media.nomadfuturist.org. The future is a story we write together. Let's kick it off. Here are your hosts, Phil and Nabeel. Hello. Welcome to Nomad Futurist. This is your co-host Nabeel Mahmood calling in live from Reston, Virginia.
This is your co-host Phillip Koblence, also live in Reston, Virginia. We are not AI. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
Yeah, we are not. Hi, I am Lovisa Tedestedt from Schneider Electric.
Well, you're not from Schneider Electric.
No, I'm
You are
not.
from Sweden.
I am from Sweden.
You're right.
Almost right off the boat.
If we were going to redesign the Swedish flag, and I think this your silhouette would be the Swedish flag. You could not.
How kind.
Amazing.
Compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. And I hear it's your first time being on a podcast.
I have never been on a podcast, and I am not an avid listener of podcasts, but when I do, I always ask myself, why don't I do this more often?
Right.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, so which one do you listen to?
So I actually listen to some Swedish podcasts, Framgångspodden. It's about success and investments and, and then I listen to some, stupid podcasts. That's basically...
Not Joe Rogan.
No, I actually do not. I do not waste my time on that. But
we are going to add a new one to your to your
New
listening list.
Heights.
Right.
Who doesn't listen to New Heights?
Oh,
I mean,
New Heights.
please.
New Heights is a good one.
But this one will be my favorite.
This is going to be the top. I think you should listen to the one with yourself on it over and over again once we release this. I think it's
This is exactly how you sound.
Oh, okay.
If the podcast ever plays and we're in the car, because sometimes it'll come up automatically, my wife will immediately stop it and be like, "Why are we listening to that?"
Yeah,
Your voice.
To listen to you again.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, I
brilliant.
understand.
So, apart the foundation and the podcast platform is really demystify technology, but get to know people more on a personal basis. So let's get to start to know you a little bit. I mean, of course, you are European, and hopefully we'll get along just fine. So you are in the technology sector, working for Schneider right now. Let's peel onion a little bit. What did you go to school for?
So I came to the U.S. And went. Originally, I was in school in Sweden, economics. We have a little bit of a different system in Sweden, but I went to what's called gymnasium in Sweden, in Stockholm, for economics. So concentrated study of economics for 3 years. Came to the U.S. and this is kind of where the story usually starts. Why did you come to the U.S.? And if you ask a young Swedish girl why she comes to the United States without a plan, it's usually because of a guy. And so I met someone and came to the U.S. But, you can't just come to the U.S. without a plan unless you want to stay on a 3 months, tourist visa. So I immediately applied for college and was accepted into University of Rhode Island around 1992. And I started URI, loved the college, loved the experience. And, graduated 5 semesters later. I was able to transfer a significant amount of credits from my School of Economics in Sweden. And, I went to school for minored in economics, but at the time, I was really looking to follow my passion and follow what I was interested in. So I studied textiles. I had a degree in textiles, fashion merchandise, an enormous amount of studies in chemistry. And I loved it. I tend to tell people, and young people in particular, that it is important to follow your passion, but try to keep some, I haven't really used my degree in textiles as much as I probably would have liked to. I never followed that path.
Yet.
No,
The story is yet to be
I
written.
think a part of it was that she moved to Rhode Island, and that was where APC was hubbed.
Exactly.
What textile company is in Rhode Island?
Oh, there's a few actually, believe it or not. But I will tell you, as you have mentioned now, APC was down the road from URI. And it was an interesting story. I had a really cool economics professor, Art Mead, and he was gathering a few of us and said, listen, guys, I have a really cool project for you. A company down the road called APC. They're looking for some interns, $8 an hour, but it's a little bit of a project. It's kind of a guinea pig project. Who's interested? And of course, 5 of us raised the hand.
$8 an hour?
$8
Of course.
an
What are you
hour.
kidding me? I'm rich. I'm rich. It's like Eurotrip.
Exactly. So this is, mind you, 1994 time-ish, 95 maybe early. And so we all start this internship, every Tuesday and Thursday or something. And the purpose of the internship was to test if $8 an hour interns with zero experience, I mean, we barely knew how to turn on a CPU, like what do we do here? What's a monitor? What's a, and to compare us to highly paid, and I believe at the time, I want to say like a well-paid salesperson was paid about $60,000 a year, and that was a lot of money back then. Would we sort of exceed the revenue targets or the lead targets? And
You were the experiment.
we were the experiment for $8 an hour, and guess what? We blew those guys out of the waters. So
Was that like, I mean, you were an inside sales.
yeah, we were kind of inside sales. We were actually, so the purpose of the guinea pig project was to be led by a very charismatic and good leader and manager, but have people with very little experience.
No understanding of what the product is. No understanding of even what APC was.
Nothing. I mean, like I said, we barely knew how to turn on a computer. And we had scripts, we had instructions, we had leaders who believed in us, who told us we were good, who
And who clearly didn't believe in their own teams.
well, he did not lead the team. But pretty much, I mean, executive leadership was probably like, had a few hiccups here and there, I'm sure, and was like, let's test this. And guess what? We all, after the successful little guinea pig project, we all got jobs with APC. So my field or idea.
Was it still $8 an hour after you got the job?
No, I got more than that. But the funny thing is, I'll tell you that story. After sort of having a degree in textiles and having a degree in fashion, I pivoted. I was like, this is a great industry. I quickly understood that, this is kind of where the market was. And at the time, APC was big. We were number one. We were leaders in our industry, and it was a lot of cool stuff happening around that time.
And that was the dawn of the what we refer to as the kind of internet era, like the turn of the century. I can't believe I'm old enough to say turn of the century. But that was the dawn of like Web 1.0.
Yeah.
And you just, so we talk about so much of the people in our industry having it's just the benefit of happenstance, being in the right place at the right time, being at the right stage of your career at the right time. There's no way you could have predicted moving to Rhode Island from Stockholm would have led you down the road from this thing. And look at you now. It's and look at this industry now. I think one of the things that resonated to me in like the opening statement that Chris Downey made yesterday was the fact that up until a couple years ago, and I've been in this industry for 30 years, so I also started in '96. Is when we describe what we do to people, their eyes just glaze over. But now you say data center to people, like, oh yeah, Stargate and 400 AI and this is taking over the world. You must have been so prescient that you knew this was going to be a thing. And like, nope, I just started doing it because it was a thing to do, and it felt right. It felt right, right? Yeah, it felt right.
I feel like half the people I know accidentally fell into this, and now it's maybe a little bit more prescripted, and I'm really trying to push people, including my children, and I tell everyone with kids in sports or that may not know what they want to do, that this has to be an industry they at least consider, even if it's the ecosystems of partners around the data center industry. You want job security? This is it.
Has any of that? I have to mention some of the economics training, but have you found that any of your experience on the kind of textiles track, the fashion track, has been helpful in terms of, your ability to, kind of talk outside the box or speak in kind of unique ways, because you have that kind of of course you have the lived experience that's fairly unique. But does the textile background or any of that help in any way?
It's actually the other way around. So I ended up moving to China for 7 years. And during that time, when I was in China, I did end my career with Schneider APC. And at that time, I said to myself, okay, very rarely in life do we get a chance to press the stop button or pause button and rediscover what we want to do in life. And at that time, moving to China, I said, okay, let me follow my dreams and sort of consider something within textiles and fashion. So I started a company, and at that point, everything I had learned within Schneider, APC, and keep in mind, at that 95 to 2002 era, so much money was thrown at us as employees in training and Dale Carnegie and, time management. And I mean, we were just that kind of training. Shoot, sorry, I forgot to turn it off. That kind of training.
Just a spam call, just if anyone is wondering if it's an important one.
Actually, that type of training money is not quite available anymore within companies. At least it's one of the first things that are cut off, or cut down on. So I felt as going into my new sort of endeavor while I lived in China, everything I had learned within the technology industry and sales and marketing, and we were privy to be under the helm of Aaron Davis, unfortunately deceased now, but he was an enormously good marketer, and actually, in I think 1998, became the marketer of the year in the world. Like, it was Coca-Cola, Adidas, APC, it was crazy. So we learned so much from him, just being under him. And all of that, I felt like I used effectively in a totally different industry. Okay.
So let's see if I can understand the timeline. You get to this experiment that you're in, where it was 1994, 95?
Yeah, 94, 95.
Right. You leave Schneider in 2002.
Yeah. So right about actually 1998, I had been with Schneider for about 12 years, 2007.
Yeah.
2008.
Right.
2007, 2008. I had been with Schneider, a decade or whatever. And we had young children. Max was about 2, or Emmy was about to be born.
My daughter's name is Emmy also.
Sorry.
My daughter's name is Emmy.
No way.
Yeah. She said sorry.
Yeah, she said sorry for you. Yeah, I know. All the Emmys out there, it's.
I know.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? My kids' names Max and Emmy, and shortly after my kids were born, Jennifer Lopez names her kids Max and Emmy, and I just want to make sure everybody knows for the record.
You were the original Max and Emmy.
OG.
Max and Emmy.
And just for the Americans out there, sorry is a way a European says, I can't hear what you just said. What did you say again? Can you repeat that?
Say it again.
So we were busy as parents, young parents and young kids, right?
Right. In Rhode Island. You're in Rhode Island.
No, now we moved to Chicago, and I have now met a different man, my husband, another fellow Swede. So, we tend to find each other out there in the jungle. Fabulous story and fabulous opportunity, and I'm just luckiest woman in the world. So we have our kids, and we recognize that it's impossible to go at this pace. One of us has to step down. And at the time, I did very well with APC, and we had just been bought by Schneider about a year and a half earlier. And we actually did a very true evaluation of whose career had the biggest potential. And at, 5 seconds there, we said, maybe it was mine. But we did recognize a lot of the, stuff happening within his company. And, I'm very happy today we did select his company to focus on. But I think they've gone through 3 rounds of, exits and, so all good there. But at the time, I decided to take a step back and stay home and really focus more on the kids, but not quit job entirely, just sort of take a step back,
Yep.
and take either a different role or whatever. But at the very same time, my husband's company said, we need to send you abroad. We wanted you to go on an expat contract. And that's actually the best thing to do with small kids. It's the best type of contract to be under. First, they looked at Brazil. We were looking to go to Sao Paulo, but it was deemed too dangerous at the time. A lot of companies were pulling out their expats in Sao Paulo. And Brazil is amazing. We love Brazil, but nevertheless, with small kids, it wasn't deemed safe at the time. And China came up, so Shanghai. And we looked at Shanghai. I'd never been to Asia at the time, believe it or not. I took a 2-month-old Emmy and hopped over and checked out Shanghai and was just floored by what a great city, what a great opportunity this would be for us. So we said, yes, we want to do Shanghai. And 6 months later, we were moving to Shanghai. And a 2-year contract turned into 7 years. So the kids are born there. I mean, not born there, they're raised there. They're born in Chicago, raised in Shanghai, spoke Chinese before they spoke English.
Oh my gosh.
And we made just an enormous amount of friends and contacts. And I decided to start that company, in the fashion industry while we were in China. So.
And how did that go?
Amazing.
So why did you shut that down?
Because COVID, first of all, not so much COVID. Actually, I'm after 7 years moving back to the US. One thing every business owner knows is that to be successful with any company, you have to have 100% focus on it, 100% dedication. And once I moved back to the US, when our contract was over, I considered selling off, everything and closing it down. But I had a Chinese business partner at the time. She's amazing. We're still, best friends. And even though you entrust somebody else to run the company, once you're not there 100%, and eventually I was asked by APC to come back, Schneider to come back, run CDW as a national account manager, one of our largest retail and reseller partners in the world. And, you start focusing 100% on your effort on going back to a full-time job. That, you just have to do one thing at a time. So that's sort of when I ended my...
Especially if you could not find two more different universes, right?
100%.
So, right.
And I like my 401k. So, I was like, let's get back into corporate America,
You could take the girl out of her economics background, but you can't take the economic background out of the girl. So you're moving back to the U.S. from Shanghai. You now have I'm going to just do some math here, a 9-year-old and a...
No.
How old?
No,
what I don't
they're
know.
older. Yeah, I know. We're off that decade. So I have a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
I have a.
But when you move back from China,
yeah.
So
then they were
right.
in that age.
All right. So you're moving back from China. It is now 2015?
2014. Yeah.
2014. You're moving back. Do you move back to Chicago?
Yeah, we did. Back into our townhome, downtown Chicago. What an experience it was, and we put the kids back into
Were the kids resistant to it? I mean, they didn't know anything other than Shanghai. Were they excited to go back?
It was funny. The trip between US and China is roughly 14, 15 hours, right? And the trip between Sweden and China is only 9 hours. So the kids had never been back to the US. We never brought them back. We just went China, Sweden every summer, you know. And then, of course, explored Asia. We went to Bali like 6 times, and Korea and Japan. And I mean, every single country around the, Southeast Asia, whatever, So Emmy, who was, about 7 when we came back to the US, she was like, Mom, this is incredible. Walking into a Target, she was like mesmerized. Not to mention Pottery Barn, teenage kids section,
And that's before she gets the BJ's or Costco.
Exactly.
The hot dogs here are only 99 cents.
They couldn't believe it. They were so excited. And so of course, they sort of fell in love with America for the first time,
Right.
you know, even though they're Americans. And so many funny stories. Like I remember, you know, Emmy was too young, but Max would often get the question in China because obviously in China, we're not Chinese. Everybody can see that. But there's a lot of expats in China. So everybody asks you, where are you from? And we would be like, we're from Sweden. And they would ask little Max, you know, 3 years old, 4 years old eventually, you know, where are you from? And he'd be like a little quiet.
Right.
And we would always be like, Max, you know, you're from Sweden. And he would not connect the dots because he's American, but his parents are Swedish, both of them. And it took us like almost 6 months to a year to figure out, why does the kid not answer the question?
You never told him where he's from.
He never
He's not
knows.
actually from Sweden. Like he's more from the IKEA in the suburbs of Chicago than he is from Stockholm.
Pretty much, poor kid. So we were like, oh my gosh, we have, and you know, same thing with Emmy, you know, we didn't push, you know, we've always pushed Swedish. They speak fluent Swedish, of course, you know, we've always pushed Swedish with them at home, only speaking Swedish to them. But then we recognized, while living in China, that, you know, it's very important that she learns English, you know, and she doesn't get Swedish at home, English at home. She doesn't really get English from, you know, the helpers, and everybody has helpers in China. It comes with a program, drivers, helpers, you know, cooks, everything. And it's not something that rich people have or anything. It's literally what everybody has, even Chinese people. So I want to make, you know, we're not spoiling them or anything. But
It's just that everyone is spoiling everyone.
exactly,
That's fine.
something like
Okay.
that. It's part of the culture.
All right.
But
Supporting the.
Well, yeah, might have helpers and stuff also. It's just they're all me.
yeah, my husband's like, why are my underwear ironed every morning? I'm like, I know. It's what they want to do. I can ask
Yeah,
them not
they-
to iron
yeah.
their underwear.
Yes. Please tell the help they no longer need to iron my underwear.
It is a little funny. But, you know, I just think that
Do they speak English with a Chinese accent? I can't even imagine what I'm
Chinese to English.
right.
no, they are fully fluent in the English American
Do
language.
they know how to pronounce Baja?
They
How do you
don't
say
say
Baja?
Baya.
Don't say Baya.
No, they say Baja. They tell, and I am pretty okay in Chinese. You know, 我的中文一点点我的中文不好. But my
That makes one of us.
yeah, my kids will say, Mom, please never speak Chinese. It is an awful accent that you have.
Oh,
And then I ask Chinese people, and they're like, actually, you're pretty good at Chinese,
Right.
you know?
we've never heard it at that altitude, but it sounds great.
But they are very good at Chinese. And actually, you know, we made so many contacts in China, and, you know,
I mean, it feels like they have superpowers now. I mean, it's so worldly. It's you know, it's an impossible thing for me to imagine because it's so outside of my lived experience, having moved from Long Island to New Jersey. I mean, this is my world is this big. But it is the superpower of having, you know, all of those different cultures, and you could not find, you know, Swedish, American, and China. There has no kind of interrelation. You might be the only ones that have.
It's a multi-continental.
Right. It's amazing. It's
and
amazing.
I think they have that gift with them from a very young age. And I know that will serve them so well in the future. And it already has. I mean, I remember when my kids came back to Chicago and, you know, trying to tell their friends, you know, a little bit about their life. And, you know, and they came back one day, they're like, Mom, we're the only ones that have never been to Mexico. I was like, I know, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry we haven't had a chance to take you to Mexico, but you've been in 16 other countries. Does that count?
Right.
You know, so.
I can only imagine what Emmy's response to, like, where are you from when she got back to Chicago. She's like, I don't know. I don't know. China. All right. So you get back here. Schneider is now asking you to come back.
Yeah.
It is 2014, 2015.
And I think I ended up going back actually about 2018. So I had
Right.
now started another company again in Chicago. Some, you know,
You do not like downtime.
no, and I'm always sort of approached, you know, asked, hey, we want to do this project. I evaluate. We looked at it. And
Was it all textiles? What did you?
it was also sort of custom-made textiles for women. You know, interesting business idea. Very difficult to scale. Very difficult to scale. And I actually know till this day nobody has actually scaled it. So we gave it a good shot, and we had very good investors and sort of mentors, McDonald's board people and, very cool people that were involved.
I mean, in Chicago, the McDonald's folks are everywhere.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's-
they are. They
So
are.
what was the idea?
Custom-made staples for women, and everybody getting sort of the perfect 10 pieces of outfits that every woman needs. And every woman who hears this knows that even though you have hundreds of pieces of clothing in your closet,
You only need 10.
you will reach for the ones that fit you the best. And not the latest design, not the best colors, not the best this, that. It's the ones that absolutely fit you the best.
There you go.
By the-
Econ 101.
I see
By the
somebody
way-
nodding over
By the
there.
way, that's not just
There's Econ 101.
That's not just-
That's a significant amount of savings.
no doubt,
only
but it's
need 10
it's not just women.
Exactly.
It's not just women. I wear the same 3 things every day. It's just,
I only have to.
Good for you. I'm scaling back.
all right.
Yeah.
All right. So you start that. You end up going back to Schneider in 2018. Obviously, that the moment is slightly different than 2008 when you left. You're now coming back 10 years later. What is that experience like, being back into the fold of an industry that you haven't seen in a decade?
So there's 2 pieces to that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a piece that 2008, 7, 8, we had this bubble burst as well.
There was a financial kind of crisis. Yeah.
I could not have left America at a better time.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Oh my
right.
gosh.
That sounds so much like you were in DC. I could not
Right.
have left.
Right.
And the funny thing is, China had no problems or
Well, I'm sure in China it was like celebrating in the streets.
yeah, and it was it was a booming time for them. Interestingly enough, so it was quite different to see what was going on in the U.S. and what was happening in China at the same time.
So you came back. It's 2018. What is that? How do you get reacquainted
Yeah.
with that industry?
I actually love this question because, I had learned so much from starting my own company, from running companies, and small scale, but really the same problems are identical to a large company, it's just on a smaller scale. And I approached, when they interviewed, or I was asked to come back, and of course there were 1 or 2 interviews in play here. I interviewed them just as much. I said,
We have on our records here that you would accept $8 an hour. Is that?
yeah, imagine if I only get a percentage increase of that. But what was interesting at the time, I was handling CDW, and that was I said, okay, tell me everything about CDW. Tell me everything about the growth. Tell me everything about the trajectory and future business outcomes, and what is the forecast there. And I said, looking at it, I'm not going to share any numbers, but looking at it, I was like, we got a problem here. Let me fix it. Put me in this place and give me I need 8 people, and you need to, budget for it, and I will, double the revenue. And maybe not doubling when you talk about a very significant, volume that CDW does with APC and Schneider at the time. But we did phenomenal. It was the first time that we had seen that kind of growth with this account. So I was very proud of what we accomplished. I knew that we had it, but the way I approached the job was the same way I approached growing a small fashion company. It's all about scaling. It's all about resources. It's all about understanding the customer, understanding the business. And even my manager and, they were like, nobody talks like this. And I'm like, I know, because even when you can easily get lost in a large company like Schneider, we are 170,000 employees, roughly, and we're like a small city government, but you can't think like that. You have to think about only your compartment and your project and your company and what you're trying to do and why do you get up in the morning? What are you trying to achieve? What's your next week's goal? What's your monthly goal? What's your year?
I mean, you left as a salesperson. You came back as a CEO.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I came back as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, that's a huge compliment to say, but I came back as an entrepreneur.
Right.
And anyone, I don't care if you're an inside salesperson, I don't care if you're a systems engineer, I don't care if you're, an account executive, you need to run your business like an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that are fundamentally lost in our culture that is really designed about go get the job and work within the system.
Yeah.
And in reality, the most successful people tend to, whether they start their own company or not, have a very kind of entrepreneurial and mindset, and that's really that pressure they put on themselves, the accountability of it, the wanting to kind of understand all the elements of it, and not just kind of point fingers and suggest that something is somebody else's problem. Because as an entrepreneur, you don't have that luxury.
No.
Everything, the buck stops with you.
Yeah, and you take responsibility. And nobody intimidates me. Like I might have been intimidated earlier in my career, SVP, VP, whatever. Today, I've seen the highest level of CEOs and entrepreneurs face problems and challenges and how they deal with it, and they're just people, right? And same goes for athletes. We interacted with a lot of athletes. My son is a hockey player, and we've met a lot of professional hockey players throughout the years, and they're just people. Everybody's just trying.
I mean, look, you're gonna see this after when we post this thing and we see the selfies of this thing. But it's gonna be really difficult for someone like me to intimidate you, and I'm like, hey, you, how dare you?
I know. I'm so tall. It's ridiculous.
Oh man, that's the Stockholm coming out. I'm so tall, it's ridiculous.
So second round at APC, how is
Yeah.
it different from the first round?
Oh, it's Lovisa 1.0 and Lovisa 2.0, and that's just how it is. But from a Schneider perspective, we are so much bigger of a company today. We have so many incredible resources, and I just love tapping into the grandness of what Schneider actually is. Sometimes I feel like we don't really give ourselves the pat on the back or the promotion that Schneider really deserves as a company, and all the incredible sort of areas we're actually diving into and that we're working with today. I still find out, what? Schneider does that? What? We have 3,000 consultants that work with sustainability and improving people's, PUEs.
It's clearly because they were influenced by APC.
Yeah, I wish. Pretty sure we bought that
You've
company.
got American roots.
But yeah,
But my question was more geared about you, not
Yeah.
necessarily Schneider.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, I really do believe that I blossomed the second time around. I had a much better understanding of who I am, who I was, what I'm trying to accomplish, what's important to me, what's my purpose, and I might have learned all that through my entire journey of starting companies, facing challenges, facing success, and what that means in that second round with Schneider.
Yeah, I have to imagine just the transition. Forget about the businesses. There's no doubt that it gives you a completely different perspective on how to run these things. But the challenge of moving a young family from Chicago to, we talk about all of the the trials and tribulations of having to tell the servants to stop ironing your husband's underwear. But I imagine it takes an entire a completely kind of unique and valuable skill set to really immerse yourself in another culture and embrace it and kind of learn. I'm sure it was, as exciting as it was, it's also there is a steep learning curve and how to assimilate to a culture like that. That is, these are soft skills that are really, you can't really learn them in school. And it's just through lived experience. And that's why, taking on all of these experiences are so unbelievably valuable and shape you. So you seem like someone that is this kind of lifelong learner, and you keep on evolving. And there was a Lovisa 1.0 and 2.0, and I assume we are on the precipice of the beta testing of 3.0. So what does Lovisa 3.0 look like?
Wow. Oh, I can tell you, it's something I really embrace and look forward to, if there is a 3.0 and if I'm that fortunate.
Oh, there is definitely going to be a 3.0. I've only met you recently, but I'm sure there'll be a 3.0.
Well,
You mentioned one thing, your
Yeah.
purpose.
yeah.
Share more about that. What is that? What is
So-
your purpose?
Well, look, I don't want this to sound like, some fad or, something the latest. Everybody's trying to find their purpose, but it is so real. Like I think my 3.0 is in sort of evolving, a little bit of. I actually recently started my master's.
Back to school.
Yeah, I went back to school.
URI?
No, actually not. This time I
Iowa.
stepped it up a bit, but I'm at SMU and love it. Love learning. I think what happened was when I graduated from URI and I was able to go in front of some kind of board at URI and convince them that I was worthy of 2 years worth of credit from Sweden, totally bullshitting my way through that and getting a degree, after 2.5 years. I realized seeing my kids go to college now and how much they embrace that and look forward to 4 years in college. I was like, maybe I was robbed. I robbed myself a little bit of a full experience in college. I saved a ton of money because I paid for it all by myself. But, I definitely didn't finish. So here I am, 50.
You certainly got a BA and BS, so I think that's helpful.
Good one. I decided.
Copyright.
Yeah. I decided to go back to school and it was fascinating. I had reached out to, I have sort of standing conference or cadence calls with my HR, believe it or not. But I do.
I believe it. To be a fly on the wall. Who have you offended now?
Not from that purpose, but just, development. And I said, hey, Jennifer, I think it's time for me to get my MBA. She goes, why? I said, what kind of skill set are you really trying to, get? You've started companies, you run companies. I've seen you interact with, executives. What exactly is the skill set you're trying to, get under you? And I was like, I don't know. Isn't that what everybody gets, an MBA, so they can advance to a VP level or whatever? And she's like, sure. But, and she goes, actually, that reminds me. I have an email here from Dr., Lyle Smith. And she was like, they're with us. He's with SMU and he is working with Schneider on a program on this new master's, or it's not a new master's program. It's been in the works for about the last 7 or 8 years. But Schneider is involved in this program, and so she kind of read me an email, and I said, this is a very interesting program. Talk to me about this Masters of Data Center Systems Engineering program. And she went through, we went on the website, we looked at some of their, and I said, you know what this program would do? I see immediately that everything that I've learned in my last, 16, 17 years at Schneider is what this program embodies. I would deepen, I can talk smack all day long about the surface. Tell me, liquid cooling, prefab, UPSs, PDUs, RPPs, bus bars, whatever. But I can't understand how the MOSFETs and the power supplies are connecting this device, So I said, if I could deepen my knowledge, everything I talk about every day with customers, that would give me purpose. That would kind of give me a sense of achievement. And she's like, let's talk to Kyle or Dr. Smith. And Klein, I keep saying his name wrong, sorry, Klein-Smith, Dr. Klein-Smith, amazing man. So I think this was November. I applied.
November 24.
Pretty much, December 2nd. And I was admitted January 1st. And we went off on the races. And I started, I think my first class was power management for mission critical facilities with Sridhar. He was a professor. He's also in the industry, in the data center industry. And it was so hard. It was so hard. I'm not an engineer, but I've worked with engineers and felt like, sometimes an engineer in this industry. But it was so cool. It was so refreshing. It was so awesome to, just hear the entire sort of the bits and the pieces and the details of everything. I mean, we started from scratch and went all the way up to, building, I don't know, everything from renewable energy. I feel like I was building windmills, at the end.
So now you know how the electrical interconnection works.
It pretty much. I should know at least from just one class. But then so actually this Friday, the 29th, I start my third class, data center operations. And after 10 classes, I am reaching a degree in this program. So
hopefully it doesn't have the same impact on your hairline that it did on mine.
We had to go to the school of hard knocks.
Yeah, we did it the hard way.
Yeah.
But look, I think the concept of someone that actually understands how the technology works, it makes you so much more purposeful in how you approach sales, and it makes you so much more authentic and credible as you have these conversations with these like super complicated problems that sometimes are overcomplicated by folks that like their fiefdoms and don't like salespeople, impacting the kind of engineering element of it. So somebody that can kind of transition those worlds, it's another in your long list of superpowers. I can't even imagine what language you're thinking in. I can only imagine it's Swedish, but
definitely not Chinese.
You're right. So it's Emmy might be thinking in Chinese. Does Emmy think in Chinese?
I think Max thinks more in Chinese.
You think that Max is thinking Chinese? Oh my God! We have to meet. We have to bring the kids onto the podcast. Also,
he's so cool. Yeah.
Brilliant. So if you were to do it all over again,
Yeah.
what would you do differently?
Oh boy. How could you rewrite a story that's pretty cool? I mean, I've been through so much, and I don't know if I would. I mean, the only thing I've ever said was, would I have had a degree in textiles and fashion, or would I have maybe embarked on a full-on degree in economics in the US? Possibly.
It just sounds like the value of starting those textile businesses. Yeah. It was so important.
Right. And actually, you know what? I'm going to take all that back. One of the coolest things my son has done was when he was 14, he was sent to China by himself to do an internship at TikTok. And I would never had that opportunity for him had I not started my textile business. Because my business partner, who is connected throughout all of China, was very good friends with one of the founders at TikTok. It was Musical.ly at the time. And, we all went to the headquarters, TikTok's headquarters, walked around, they're showing us, oh, this is how it works. And this is where all the kids sit. And I mean, it was literally a company run by kids. I'm not joking. And, and he was taken under the wings of the CEO, Eric at the time. He's no longer there. He started another company in China. And Max was working with him for 2 weeks to identify, the topic at the time was, how did TikTok become so good and so big in China? At the time, it had 800 million users. 800 million users. But in the US, it only had one at the time.
Not one user, 1 million.
1 million user, 1 million user.
Right. But only out of 330 million people compared to the couple billion. Right. Yeah.
So the question was, why was China so much more successful at the time? And the answer that Max dug up through interviewing people and doing his research, and all this was written in Chinese, by the way, was because it was so widely accepted and used as a platform. I mean, old people, teachers, young people, executives, everybody used it as a platform. Whereas in the US at the time, it was a dance sort of app for 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds to do 20-second dance moves,
right.
Now I think actually Schneider is just about to decide whether they're going to enter the TikTok world, but we're talking about every company in the world. So I don't know what the user, but I would imagine it's 150 million now in the US, type of thing. So from a percentage,
that's why the current administrator has been trying to ban it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then bring it back.
Yeah.
So what would you tell the younger Lovisa to pick a career pathway? I mean, why would anyone want to get into the data infrastructure space?
Well, so for any young person out there, and I'm a big advocate of this, and I'm trying actually to work on I think I mentioned before to you guys that I'm working on identifying a very easy to understand matrix of what type of opportunities are in the data center industry. That goes for the data center companies themselves, such as, technically the hyperscalers, but also the colos, and what kind of jobs they offer today. Exactly what are those jobs, meaning title, salary range, education required. Those are the 3 criteria I have for each one of those, or for each opportunity within the data center industry. Then it goes into, other sort of supporting roles, sales, marketing, operations, things like that. And then, of course, the ecosystems of partners, Schneider being one of them. All of my competitors, never worked as close with my competitors as I have, today, but we are part of a very important ecosystems that supports the data center industry. But really, what I would say is, and I tell my kids, for example, my son wasn't sure exactly what he was going to do after his hockey career. I said, please become an electrician. You want to be rich? Become an electrician. It's insane the kind of, starting salary for a low voltage and medium voltage electrician, not a home electrician, or a residential electrician, but
particularly one that speaks 3 languages.
Yeah, that would make for fun stories for this. But really consider it. My daughter was mortified. She's like, what, Mom? Max, she's a finance major at CU Boulder. I said, Emmy, I know you guys never listen to me, but if Max becomes the electrician and you run the company, you guys will be millionaires before you're 30, okay? Please take this seriously. But so, and I, I encourage every young male and female to go into the trade, to the field of trade, whether it's electricians, plumbers, welders, there's a mechanical. There's so many interesting jobs. And I think you can also own your own job and company. You can sort of be your own entrepreneur, even in that field. It might not look so sexy, and it might not look so...
Well, sexy is in the eye of the beholder.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's a huge... Swedish, I heard Scandinavian women are taking over with, welding, plumbers, electricians. It's a big thing, and it's a cool thing. They're all over TikTok, apparently, showing off their skill sets, So I'm hoping that trend comes here to the US too. But either way, we are having such a shortage in that industry and in that field. It is going to become a real problem real soon.
I mean, it's already a problem, right? And it's only going to be exacerbated, right?
300,000 people deficit as it is.
Right. And that's before everyone retires that's been doing this for 20 years or more. Yeah. It sounds like, look, I said this when we first met, there's so much alignment with what your passion is, with what the foundation's mission is, that I imagine that this is the first of many conversations that we have. You're going to be sick of me in no time. It's probably already happened. No. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been fascinating.
Pleasure. Yeah. Thank you very much. I would love to come back.
All right, and you will, and we're going to add Nomad Futurist to your list of podcasts you listen to. So for Nabeel, my name is Phil. We are live at Reston. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Nomad Futurist Podcast. Remember, technology, markets, and challenges will continue to evolve, but those who adapt and prepare are the ones who will thrive. Embrace the change, stay curious, and let's build a future worth moving towards. The journey has just begun, and we're glad you're here with us. Visit us anytime at media.nomadfuturist.org to stay connected and be a part of the movement. Until next time, keep exploring.